you find yourself feeling hurt or frustrated when faced with insults or rude remarks from others? In this insightful video, we'll delve into the wisdom of Buddhism to discover powerful strategies for maintaining inner peace and responding gracefully to negativity. We will explore how to navigate the stormy waters of rudeness with serenity and compassion. Lesson 1. Stay calm. Staying calm amidst the storm of insults and rudeness is not merely a matter of suppressing or denying our emotions. Rather, it is an invitation to cultivate a deeper awareness of our inner landscape. In the practice of mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions with a sense of spaciousness and non-judgment, allowing them to arise and pass away like clouds drifting across the sky. When faced with verbal attacks or provocations, our natural tendency may be to react impulsively, driven by the force of habit or the desire to defend our honor. Yet the teachings of Buddhism remind us that true strength lies not in reactivity, but in the capacity to respond with wisdom and discernment. By anchoring ourselves in the present moment, we create a space of refuge amidst the chaos of the external world. We recognize that our thoughts and emotions are transient phenomena, arising and passing away like ripples on the surface of a pond. Through the practice of mindfulness meditation, we cultivate the ability to witness the arising of anger, hurt, or indignation without becoming entangled in their web. In the stillness of the present moment, we discover a reservoir of inner peace that remains unscathed by the fluctuations of external circumstances. We realize that our true nature is not defined by the opinions or judgments of others, but is rooted in the timeless essence of awareness itself. Staying calm does not imply a passive acceptance of injustice or mistreatment. Rather, it is a proactive choice to respond to adversity with clarity and equanimity. By maintaining a calm and composed demeanor, we disarm the power of insults and diffuse the potential for conflict to escalate. In the words of the Buddha, conquer anger with non-anger, conquer badness with goodness, conquer meanness with generosity, conquer dishonesty with truth. Through the cultivation of mindfulness and inner peace, we embody the timeless wisdom of these words, transforming adversity into an opportunity for spiritual growth and liberation. As we deepen our practice of staying calm in the face of insults and rudeness, we come to realize that our true refuge lies not in external circumstances, but in the unshakable foundation of our own inner being. By cultivating mindfulness and equanimity, we cultivate a sense of inner resilience that enables us to navigate life's challenges with grace and dignity. By anchoring ourselves in the present moment and cultivating mindfulness, we discover a reservoir of inner peace that remains untouched by the storms of the external world. Through the practice of staying calm, we embody the timeless wisdom of the Buddha and pave the way for greater harmony and understanding in our relationships with others. Lesson 2. Don't stoop to their level. When confronted with rudeness or insults, the temptation to retaliate in kind can be strong, yet Buddhist wisdom teaches us the folly of such actions. Reacting with aggression or spite only perpetuates the cycle of negativity, deepening the discord and causing harm not only to others, but also to ourselves. Instead, we are urged to rise above the discord, to embody the virtues of patience and forbearance. In the face of hostility, we can choose to respond with kindness and understanding, recognizing that the words and actions of others are often born out of their own suffering and confusion. By embodying the virtues of patience, forbearance, and compassion, we disrupt the patterns of reactivity and create space for understanding and reconciliation to flourish. This does not mean passively accepting mistreatment or allowing others to trample upon our dignity. Rather, it involves asserting our boundaries firmly and assertively, while still extending empathy and understanding towards those who may have wronged us. In practicing non-reactivity, we reclaim our agency and refuse to be held captive by the actions or words of others. Rather than allowing external circumstances to dictate our internal state, we cultivate an inner sanctuary of peace and equanimity that remains unshaken amidst the storms of life. This inner stability becomes our greatest source of strength, empowering us to respond to adversity with grace and resilience. By refusing to stoop to the level of those who seek to provoke or antagonize us, we demonstrate the transformative power of compassion and kindness. Our actions serve as a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness, inspiring others to follow suit and embrace a higher standard of conduct. In this way, we become agents of positive change, sowing seeds of harmony and goodwill wherever we go. The practice of not stooping to the level of others also involves cultivating a sense of empathy and understanding towards the motivations behind their behavior. While it may be tempting to dismiss rude or hostile individuals as simply bad or malicious, Buddhist teachings encourage us to look beneath the surface and recognize the humanity that resides within each person. Often, the actions of others are driven by deep-seated insecurities, unresolved traumas, or unmet needs. By extending compassion towards their suffering, we break down the barriers of hostility and create the conditions for healing and reconciliation. This does not mean condoning or excusing harmful behavior, but rather acknowledging the complex interplay of causes and conditions that shape human conduct. In refraining from retaliatory actions or words, we also protect ourselves from the karmic consequences of unskillful behavior. The law of karma teaches us that every action we perform leaves an imprint on our consciousness and shapes our future experiences. When we respond to insults or rudeness with patience and compassion, we sow seeds of goodness that will ripen into joy and well-being in the fullness of time. By refusing to engage in negativity, we preserve our own inner peace and well-being. Holding on to anger or resentment is like holding on to a burning coal. It only burns us from within. By releasing the burden of negativity, we liberate ourselves from the cycle of suffering and open ourselves to the boundless possibilities of the present moment. By embodying the virtues of patience, forbearance, and loving kindness, we transform even the most challenging interactions into opportunities for growth and healing. As we walk the noble path, may we continue to uphold the highest standards of conduct and inspire others to do the same. Lesson 3. Focus on self-worth. In moments of insult or disrespect, it's easy to internalize the negative words of others, allowing them to erode our sense of self-worth. Yet, Buddhist teachings remind us of the inherent dignity and value of every being. Our worth is not contingent upon the opinions or judgments of others, but is rooted in our intrinsic nature as sentient beings. By cultivating self-love and self-compassion, we fortify ourselves against the slings and arrows of the world. We recognize that our worthiness is immutable, unaffected by the transient fluctuations of praise or blame. Through practices such as loving-kindness meditation, we extend compassion not only to ourselves but also to those who seek to diminish us, understanding that their words are but fleeting echoes in the vast expanse of our inner being. To focus on self-worth is to embrace ourselves fully, with all our imperfections and vulnerabilities. It is a radical act of self-compassion, in which we extend the same unconditional love and acceptance to ourselves that we offer to others. In the words of the Buddha, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Yet, in a world that often measures worth by external standards, the journey towards self-acceptance can be fraught with challenges. From a young age, we are bombarded with societal expectations and cultural norms that dictate what success looks like and how we should measure our worth. We internalize these messages, equating our value with achievements, possessions, or the approval of others. Buddhist teachings invite us to challenge these ingrained patterns of self-judgment and comparison, to recognize that our worthiness transcends the fluctuations of worldly success or failure. Through practices such as meditation and self-inquiry, we cultivate a deep sense of inner knowing, rooted in the timeless wisdom of our own hearts. In the light of self-awareness, we come to understand that our true worth lies not in external validation, but in our capacity for love, compassion, and inner peace. It is the recognition that we are worthy simply by virtue of our existence, regardless of our flaws or shortcomings. To focus on self-worth is to embrace the full spectrum of our humanity, the light and the shadow, the joy and the sorrow. It is a journey of self-discovery in which we learn to befriend ourselves with kindness and gentleness, nurturing the seeds of self-love that reside within us. Yet the path to self-worth is not always easy. Along the way, we may encounter the voices of self-doubt and self-criticism, the echoes of past wounds and traumas that seek to undermine our sense of worthiness. In these moments, it is important to remember the teachings of impermanence and non-self, which remind us that our identities are not fixed, but are ever-changing and evolving. By cultivating mindfulness and self-compassion, we can gently hold these inner voices with tenderness and understanding, recognizing them as fleeting phenomena arising within the vast expanse of our awareness. Through practices such as loving kindness meditation, we can offer ourselves the same unconditional love and acceptance that we would offer to a dear friend, nurturing the seeds of self-worth with each breath. In the light of self-worth, we discover a profound sense of freedom, a liberation from the chains of self-doubt and insecurity that have bound us for so long. It is the recognition that we are already whole and complete, lacking nothing, and that our worthiness is not something to be earned or attained, but simply to be realized. As we journey deeper into the heart of self-worth, we come to understand that it is not a destination, but a way of being, a radical acceptance of ourselves and our lives as they are in this moment. It is the recognition that we are enough, exactly as we are, and that our worthiness is not dependent on anything outside of ourselves. Through practices of self-inquiry, self-compassion, and mindfulness, we can awaken to the truth of our own worthiness and live with greater freedom, joy, and authenticity. May we each walk this path with courage and compassion, honoring the divine spark that resides within us all. Lesson 4. Confuse them with kindness. The concept of confusing others with kindness may seem counterintuitive in a world that often values strength and assertiveness. However, within the teachings of Buddhism lies a profound understanding of the transformative power of compassion. When faced with rudeness or hostility, responding with kindness can be a revolutionary act, disrupting the cycle of negativity and paving the way for reconciliation. By extending loving kindness towards those who insult or mistreat us, we challenge the prevailing narrative of aggression and division, offering instead a vision of unity and interconnectedness. Rather than seeing others as adversaries to be defeated, we recognize them as fellow travelers on the journey of life, each struggling with their own fears and insecurities. Confusing others with kindness does not mean naively ignoring or excusing harmful behavior. Instead, it involves responding to negativity with an unwavering commitment to compassion and understanding. When someone directs insults or rudeness towards us, we can choose to see beyond their words to the pain and suffering that lie beneath. By responding with empathy rather than defensiveness, we create the possibility for genuine connection and healing. In the Buddhist tradition, there are numerous stories of enlightened beings who responded to hostility with boundless compassion, transforming the hearts of even the most hard-earned adversaries. The Buddha himself exemplified this principle in his encounters with those who sought to harm him. In one famous story, a man named Angulimala, who had killed countless people, attempted to attack the Buddha. Instead of retaliating, the Buddha responded with compassion, eventually leading Angulimala to renounce violence and become a disciple. This profound example reminds us that even in the face of extreme hostility, there is always the potential for transformation. By confusing others with kindness, we open the door to reconciliation and forgiveness. transcending the limitations of ego and embracing the inherent goodness of all beings. Practicing kindness towards those who insult us also has a transformative effect on our own hearts and minds. When we respond with compassion rather than resentment, we cultivate inner peace and resilience, freeing ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment. In the words of the Buddha, hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. By embodying the qualities of kindness and compassion, we inspire others to do the same. Our actions serve as a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness, reminding others of the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. In this way, confusing others with kindness becomes not only a personal practice but also a ripple effect that spreads outwards, touching the hearts of all those we encounter. It's important to acknowledge that practicing kindness towards those who insult or mistreat us is not always easy. It requires courage, patience, and a deep commitment to the principles of Buddhism. Yet, with dedication and perseverance, we can cultivate the capacity to respond to negativity with love and understanding, transforming even the most challenging interactions into opportunities for growth and awakening. By responding to insults and rudeness with compassion and understanding, we disrupt the cycle of negativity and sow the seeds of peace and reconciliation. As we walk the noble path, may we continue to cultivate the boundless love and kindness that lie at the heart of the Buddha's teachings, inspiring others to do the same. Lesson 5. Call them out calmly. While the path of non-reactivity is often the noblest course of action, there are times when it becomes necessary to address the behavior of others directly. When faced with persistent rudeness or disrespect, we can assert our boundaries firmly and assertively without succumbing to anger or aggression. It's important to avoid accusations or personal attacks, as these are likely to provoke defensiveness and escalate the conflict. Instead, we can focus on describing the impact of the person's behavior on ourselves or others, using I statements to express our feelings and observations without placing blame. For example, instead of saying, "You're always so rude and disrespectful," we might say, "When you speak to me in that tone, I feel hurt and disrespected." By framing the conversation in terms of our own experience, we create space for the other person to reflect on their behavior without feeling attacked. It's helpful to approach the conversation with a genuine curiosity about the other person's perspective. Perhaps they were unaware of the impact of their words or were acting out of their own inner turmoil. By listening with an open heart and mind, we demonstrate our willingness to engage in a constructive dialogue rather than a confrontation. In the spirit of compassion, we can also offer support and understanding to the person we are confronting. We might acknowledge the challenges they may be facing and express our willingness to work together to find a mutually beneficial resolution. By extending empathy and compassion, we create the conditions for healing and reconciliation to take place. It's important to recognize that calling out rude behavior calmly may not always lead to an immediate resolution. The other person may react defensively or deny responsibility for their actions. In such cases, it's essential to remain patient and persistent, continuing to assert our boundaries with firmness and compassion. At the same time, we must also be willing to let go of attachment to the outcome of the conversation. Our primary goal is not to change the other person's behavior, but rather to uphold our own dignity and self-respect. By speaking our truth with integrity and compassion, we affirm our worthiness and create space for healing and growth, both for ourselves and for others. By approaching the situation with equanimity and empathy, speaking our truth with sincerity and compassion, and remaining patient and persistent in the face of resistance, we can foster understanding and resolution in even the most challenging interactions. As we continue to cultivate these qualities in our hearts and minds, may we contribute to the creation of a world characterized by kindness, respect, and harmony. Lesson 6. Walk away. In some situations, the most skillful response to insults or rudeness may be to disengage entirely. Walking away is not an act of cowardice, but rather an assertion of our own well-being and inner peace. By removing ourselves from toxic environments or interactions, we protect our mental and emotional health, preserving our energy for more fruitful endeavors. Buddhist teachings remind us that detachment does not mean indifference or apathy, but rather a wise recognition of where our efforts are best directed. Sometimes the most compassionate response we can offer to a rude or hostile individual is the space to reflect on their actions and their impact on others. In stepping away from conflict, we create the possibility for healing and reconciliation to unfold in its own time. Walking away is a gesture of self-care and self-respect. It is a declaration that our well-being and inner peace are paramount, deserving of protection and nurture. In the face of insults and rudeness, walking away is an act of courage, a refusal to be drawn into the mire of negativity and conflict. The decision to walk away is not always easy. It may require us to confront our own fears and insecurities, to relinquish the need for validation or vindication. Yet, in the spaciousness of non-engagement, we find liberation and empowerment. We reclaim our sovereignty over our thoughts and emotions, refusing to allow external circumstances to dictate our inner state. Walking away is an expression of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. It is an acknowledgement that sometimes the most compassionate response we can offer is the space for healing and reflection. In stepping back from the heat of the moment, we create the conditions for understanding and reconciliation to blossom in its own time. Walking away does not mean turning a blind eye to injustice or condoning harmful behavior. It is a strategic retreat, a tactical maneuver that preserves our energy and clarity for more constructive endeavors. By disengaging from toxic interactions, we protect ourselves from harm and create the possibility for meaningful dialogue and resolution to emerge in the future. In the practice of walking away, we cultivate the virtues of mindfulness and discernment. We learn to recognize the signs of escalating conflict and to respond with wisdom rather than impulsivity. We become attuned to the subtler rhythms of our own inner landscape, knowing when to hold firm and when to gracefully withdraw. Walking away is an invitation to deepen our connection with the present moment. As we step away from the noise and distractions of the external world, we return to the sanctuary of our own hearts, where peace and tranquility abide eternally. In the simplicity of walking, each step becomes a meditation, a reminder of our inherent freedom and wholeness. Walking away is an act of humility, a recognition of our own limitations and fallibility. It is an acknowledgement that we cannot control the actions or attitudes of others, nor should we attempt to do so. Instead, we relinquish the burden of responsibility for the behavior of others, focusing instead on cultivating virtue and integrity within ourselves. In the gentle rhythm of walking away, we find solace and renewal. We let go of the weight of resentment and bitterness, allowing our hearts to expand with love and compassion. We forgive not only others but also ourselves, releasing the grip of past hurts and grievances. By honoring our own well-being, cultivating compassion, and embracing the impermanence of all things, we walk the path of liberation and peace. As we journey through life, may we walk with courage and compassion, knowing that each step brings us closer to the boundless expanse of our true nature. Lesson 7, Let It Go. Ultimately, the most profound teaching of Buddhism in responding to insults lies in the practice of letting go. Holding on to resentment or anger only serves to burden our hearts and minds, obscuring the light of our true nature. By releasing attachment to the opinions and judgments of others, we free ourselves from the shackles of suffering and find liberation in the present moment. Letting go does not mean denying the validity of our emotions or suppressing them beneath a veneer of false equanimity. Rather, it is a process of acknowledging our feelings with kindness and compassion and then releasing them with grace and acceptance. In the words of the Buddha, You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. To let go is to relinquish our grip on the past, to surrender our attachment to grievances and grudges that no longer serve us. It is a courageous act of releasing the stories we tell ourselves about the injustices we have endured, recognizing that clinging to them only perpetuates our own suffering. In the words of the Buddha, letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. The practice of letting go is not synonymous with forgetting or denying our experiences. Rather, it is a radical act of acceptance and forgiveness, both towards ourselves and towards others. When we let go of resentment and anger, we create space within our hearts for compassion to flourish, opening ourselves to the possibility of reconciliation and healing. In the face of insults and rudeness, the practice of letting go empowers us to transcend the limitations of ego and to connect with the boundless reservoir of love and wisdom that lies at the core of our being. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-transformation, inviting us to release the armor of defensiveness and vulnerability that we have constructed around ourselves. To let go is to embrace impermanence, recognizing that the words and actions of others are but fleeting phenomena in the ever-changing tapestry of existence. When we cling to resentment or anger, we imprison ourselves in the past, denying ourselves the opportunity to fully engage with the present moment. By letting go, we liberate ourselves from the chains of attachment and step into the spaciousness of now. The practice of letting go is not always easy. It requires courage and resilience, a willingness to confront the shadows that dwell within our hearts, and to embrace them with compassion and understanding. Yet, with each act of letting go, we inch closer towards true freedom and inner peace. By letting go of the stories and narratives that bind us, we reclaim our power and agency, stepping into the fullness of our potential as compassionate and awakened beings. In the spaciousness of letting go, we discover the infinite possibility that resides within us, and we become vessels of love and light in a world that is often shrouded in darkness. In the journey of life, the practice of letting go is a profound act of liberation, a sacred dance of surrender and release. As we walk the path of awakening, may we cultivate the courage to let go of all that no longer serves us, and may our hearts be filled with boundless compassion and love for all beings. Overall, the teachings of Buddhism offer profound guidance on how to respond to insults and rudeness with wisdom and compassion. By staying calm, refusing to engage in negativity, and cultivating self-worth and loving kindness, we can transform even the most challenging interactions into opportunities for growth and healing. As we walk the noble path, may we embody the teachings of the Buddha in every word and deed, and may our hearts be filled with boundless compassion for all beings.